In this episode of Brew Talks, I sit down with Hardik Dave, the founder and CEO of RoadVision AI, to discuss how he is using agentic AI to replace traditional road surveying with simple dashcams. We dive into the technical core of the product, specifically his claim that 2D cameras can provide engineering grade payment data. I pushed him on the more debated aspects of the tech, such as the risk of AI hallucinating road defects due to shadows, and how the system handles the daily chaos of evolving potholes in places like Bengaluru. We also discuss the complexities of the public sector landscape and the shift toward tech savvy government leadership, alongside his unique skin in the game story as a self funded founder. So let's get into it. Hi, Hardik. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. I just want to first understand your work. I was very intrigued by the autonomous road engineers. So let's just start with we're talking about agentic AI in this year related to coding and running programs and those kind of tasks. But you're working in a sector where it's completely physical and you're building something of this sort. So just walk me through how this whole thing works. What is RoadVision AI and how did it all begin?
Perfect. So, Vandana, thank you so much for having me here and love your work.
Thank you.
Briefly talking about what we are building at RoadVision. So, the idea is to build AI for road and transport as a sector. And in that, the problem with when we talk about road sector, right? The problem is it is not an industry which is a hot and favorite for founders to build startups. So to talk about what we are building at RoadVision AI, the idea is simple: building the AI stack for road and transport as a sector, where whether you are an infrastructure player or a government agency on the other side who is in charge of asset maintenance, right, or taking care that the roads are in a good condition and they're safe to drive, we are building a stack for that. It includes solution from construction monitoring to monitoring of the road during the operation and maintenance stage. Right. So the idea is very simple. What you can do is, so if I want to now figure out something in Delhi that which all roads in Delhi requires a maintenance, right? Maintenance from say the road condition point of view, or some sort of safety intervention where if I drive on the road, it might potentially create some hazard. What we can do is use a simple dash cam that I can mount on the vehicle, drive across the entire roads which are to be surveyed. It will capture geotagged, time-tagged videos of that particular road. Now, these videos are then processed through the virtual AI engineer or the autonomous AI engineer, as we call it. It's an AI algorithm that have been trained to reason like a road engineer, identify all potential defect, safety parameters, asset conditions on the road, and then prepare basically a dashboard and reports based on that to help you decide where you have to prioritize or where you have to, what all interventions you have to do as from a predictive maintenance point of view. So the solution is pretty standard. If you are an asset owner, we would help you with AI to basically get the latest data insights on your network.
Got it. So how do you go about this surveying? I mean, you said with the dash cam. So do you implement, like, you have certain cars, you go through those roads and measure it? I mean, can you just walk me through the whole data collection part of it?
Perfect. So let me tell you what was happening historically, what was the problem versus what we are doing now, right? And why it is maybe a better way, right? So historically, the road surveys were manual, right? So some field engineer will go on the ground with maybe a paper and then note down, and then they prepare a report, send to the authorities for whatever work is to be done, budget is to be approved, right? Now, in the world that we're living in, of course, that is not the way we would want that to happen, right? So there is now the other extreme. There is something called network survey vehicle, right? NSV for short. NSV is basically a very sophisticated vehicles with very advanced sensors, high resolution cameras, costing around $500,000 in total. And therefore, when you do surveys through NSV, basically that cost extreme amount, and that is the problem that only 2.5% of India's road network, which is the national highways, get surveyed through NSV. Right. So the fact is
Okay.
that we have close to now 70 lakhs kilometers of road network, roughly around 7 million kilometers. Only say 2 to 3% is getting surveyed scientifically through NSV, and that too only twice a year. Right. So NHAI has mandated that NSV-based surveys are mandatory to do twice a year, right? So the thing is, rest of the 97%, there is no way to scientifically survey those roads, right? They're still relying on the manual judgments. Second, even a national highway which carries our major traffic, right, which is like the heart of the entire infrastructure ecosystem that we have, uh, surveying do then once in 6 months is not enough, right? We need to be more proactive to fix issues as and when they happen. Therefore, there have been a need that whatever data collection method emerges, it has to be more democratic, right? The cost of hardware should be less. It should not require a sophisticated training for users to go on the ground and collect data. And then the time that you take to prepare reports based on that data should be very minimal so that you can do it very often, right? And therefore, in
Okay.
this case, what we are doing is we do not require you to buy our proprietary hardware, right? What we tell that as far as you can buy a dashcam, which has these minimal specifications, which is basically having a high resolution camera with inbuilt GPS, so that you get a time tagged geotagged video. You can mount that on any vehicle, right? You can basically rent maybe an Uber, uh, put a camera. It doesn't require any engineering as such. It's simply mounting a camera and then start surveying, right? And the data as collected gets uploaded to the cloud, and then the processing happens. By the time you're back from your site to the office, the report is already prepared, right? So say maybe
Okay.
preparing a report for 100 kilometer will not take more than an hour. So by the time you're back to your office and having a coffee, you have the report that okay, this is the next step that I have to do now.
Okay, sounds interesting, Hardik. So then, my question is: so if you're implementing dash cams, which are ideally 2D sensors, right?
Right.
So, wouldn't that give you some form of limitations when it comes to, say, you're calculating PCI, your payment condition index? From
Right.
a 2D sensor camera, there would be limitations of, say, a dark patch on the road, which would ideally be, say, a bitumen, but it may construe it as a pothole. So, can you just talk to me about the tech aspect of it? How do you navigate through that?
Correct. Talking about our AI stack and how we have been able to mitigate these risks, right? We're not using a pure computer vision model. Instead,
Okay.
our entire stack is based on what we call a vision language model, right? So it's a model that understands the road engineering standards, right, and the literature around it. That what actually is a pothole, how does it differentiate, and now if you have identified a certain defect, right? Defect would include a long list of different types of cracks, then potholes, rutting, shoving, right? There are more than like 20 different parameters just on the pavement conditions, right, which are relevant. Now,
Okay.
when we basically apply that logic, that how do you differentiate between the two, and then once you have identified the defect, what exact nature and extent of that defect we will be able to identify. That is where a vision language model comes much more handy as compared to a pure play computer vision model, which is only trained on say an object identification, right, or object detection.
Okay. Correct.
Therefore, all these aspects that, okay, what if it's a shadow on the road and not a crack, right? How that would be differentiated. Of course, we have done that training over last 2 years of our journey. We would have worked on more than 100,000 kilometers of road data across different geographies in India, internationally, right? There have been the process where we have like used human annotators who have annotated those data sets, right? And therefore now the models are mature. But also these context aware AI stack basically makes it more possible for me to be able to basically give you that input that this is how this road is to be interpreted, right? For example, calculation of PCI varies from a national highway to expressway to a rural road, right? Now, if I do a pure play mathematics calculation there, right, the pipeline would needs to be changed every time we work on a new type of road or in a new geography. Versus when I say that, okay, this is the context, or maybe upload a simple document, right, around my engineering standard or maintenance SOP, and the model takes care of it on its own, right? Second, you ask about how do we actually calculate say, measurements from a 2D video. So that is the another core area that we've been working on, right? Because if I, as a road engineer, if I see defect on the road, just knowing the count is not enough, right? Say then, say on this 1 kilometer there are 10 potholes, is not good enough data for me to take a maintenance decision. That should I fix it today or tomorrow? How should I fix it? What is the
Correct.
severity of this defect? For that, you need an estimated area, which is the area of that particular pothole. And then there are basically depth and other parameters also which are relevant so that you can basically see the severity, right? And then accordingly plan the maintenance decision. So what we do is when we need the measurements also, we use basically a technique where there are two cameras mounted at exact same height and looking at the same defect from two different angles, right? And based on that, we've been able to develop depth estimation and area estimation algorithms on our side, which have been now, by the way, calibrated in the real world and they have been tested. We are doing some work in Qatar and Saudi as well, right? Where it is mandatory to give those measurements, and they have been more than 90% accurate. Right? While these algorithms are approximations, but they are reasonably accurate in terms of the size and depth estimation.
And these models, the model that you're talking about is built in-house, right? Or is it built on an existing model out there, an open source model?
Yeah, so we did start with an open source model as the primary stack, but then over last 2.5 years of our journey, we've like refined that with the domain knowledge and literature, both the visual data and the engineering workflows.
Okay. But speaking about the uncertainty bit, right? Now, say you would be facing a lot of this problem in a constantly evolving terrain. Like, for example, if you're doing it in Bangalore, where the road conditions are terrible here, and the kind of potholes or the bumps or the holes or whatever you call it, it just keeps appearing and changing every day. So, how would such kind of systems adapt to a terrain like ours? Like, is it even possible to get it done?
Correct. So, when we evaluate a road, there are different factors which are to be considered, right? And definitely weather plays a role. And then, of course, the geography itself plays a role.
Okay.
The whole idea was to build a model that is adaptive, right? And even if it's the same road, right? So let me take a very simple example that it's the same road maintained by two different agencies. Both of them might have different approach, right? One might say that, okay, I want to be extremely proactive, and if there is even a small crack, I want to fix it. The other might say that, okay, I have limited budgets, and therefore I'm not really concerned about very trivial issues, but I want to fix the major problems, right? Now that itself changes what all inferences I would have to draw from the video, right, or from the roads, and then what report and what recommendations I have to provide. So the entire pipeline of collecting data, then processing it, and then based on the process data, generating some sort of report for you is adaptive in the loop, that you can have your feedback incorporated. So all that calibration, whether it is about geography or it is about my preference as a client, both of them are taken care, right, in that process.
But in such a terrain, it would be constantly evolving, right? Like you said, I know corrections can be made, but if on a day-to-day basis it's changing, like
So
because like I said, no, the road conditions are so bad, or like the weather would just ruin it.
that's
So
the
what you
exact
measure today,
Okay,
yeah,
so that's
tell me.
the exact idea that when the network is deteriorating on a daily basis, you need to do these surveys in a much higher frequency, right? So instead of waiting for once in 6 months, you should do it probably once in a week, right? So I'll give you a practical example of how NHI is using this, right? So while I did mention that NHI still continue to do NSV based surveys once in 6 months, right? Last year, they came up with an RFP identifying almost 45,000 kilometers of their road network, which is like high traffic, high importance road corridor, where they said that we want to do weekly survey of these roads, right? And these weekly surveys have to be dashcam based AI generated reports, right? So that they can take timely actions. They specified 35 parameters, which are like the most important things to prioritize, mix of road conditions, asset conditions, and safety parameters. They said that, okay, the patrolling vehicle of NHI, which anyways goes on the highways, they will put a dash cam once in a week, collect the visual data, let the AI process it, and generate reports in the next 1 or 2 days, so that they have remaining 5 days to fix that before the next survey happens, right? So that is the exact purpose which is being solved when you use dashcam, and like any technology which is low cost and easy to use, that you can do it more often and you can be more proactive on your network, right? So the answer is to a question that how do we basically fix when the problem is very serious? Be more proactive, right? Keep collecting new data so that you can see that, okay, the network is deteriorating at so and so rate. If you have identified a certain issue today, whether it is fixed in the next 30 days, 7 days, whatever be the SLA for them as an agency or as an infrastructure company, right? So that is the idea.
Got it, Adi. So right now, on in which all cities are you working on?
We have worked across multiple cities. We continue to work. We started our work back in Jalandhar in Punjab. Then we
Okay.
deployed in Hoshiarpur, which is a neighboring town in Punjab itself. We did work in Raipur, Chhattisgarh. We now continue to work in Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh, Rajahmundry, Vizag, right, and Khammam, which is in Telangana. And then there are several PWDs and new cities which are being added, right? Recently, we have also started some work in Madhya Pradesh, multiple cities of Madhya Pradesh, right, through the Urban Development Department.
Got it. Do you see Karnataka or Bangalore as a potential market soon?
It is indeed a great market, right? And I believe the citizens would love it. But unfortunately, we have not been able to get any success, right? We did try our bit of effort, but we have not been able to get any success so far. But we would love to deploy the solution there.
Got it. And a bit of your expansion in other countries, you were talking about, I think, Middle Eastern countries, right?
Right. So, in fact, when we started, our initial focus have been purely the international market for two reasons. Number one, there is a lot of standardization of the survey practices that they follow. And second, usually they are more proactive, is what we have experienced, right? I'm not saying anything that we are not proactive here in India, but generally as a trend, Middle East, of course, they're very particular about keeping their infrastructure very clean and in good condition, right, and safe. So we do work across Qatar, in Saudi, a few African countries as well, uh, Kenya, South Africa, Ivory Coast, which is on the western coast of the African continent, and then there are some early deployments which are now happening in UK and Australia. Right. So overall, we are the whole intention have been to build a product here in India, but build it for the world, right? And that's been the focus. Fortunately, when you go from one market to other, it doesn't really change a lot, right? Like the core technology that you built, it would just need customization for the local road conditions, except that the product largely remains.
Got it. So you'll have offices in these places to do the work over there?
Take the local partner approach. So in each of these countries, we have partnered with a local company who's already, say, a contractor to the road agencies there, right? So, say, a counterpart of NHI in Ivory Coast is a partner for us, right? And they deploy our solution. But having said that, we are also in the process of setting up our first international office in Middle East, hopefully after the situation gets better.
Yeah, so that's what I just wanted to ask you about that. With the current situation, do you think your business would be impacted there?
Uh, so see, any global tension always basically bring uncertain time for a business, and so whatever is the general impact on the economy, we would also definitely face that. But having said that, the thing is, in most of the countries, the core road network is not really managed by government, right? While they are the ultimate party, but then they have contractors, a lot of engineering companies, consulting companies, right, who are in charge of doing the daily operation maintenance on those roads, and therefore they have defined contracts, right? So once we onboard a client, these are usually 3 to 5 years contract signed with defined basically interval, and the SLAs in place, right? So therefore our business, while it appears that we are B2G, but most of our business, 90% of our revenue is B2B, right, where the ultimate client is the government who has outsourced the operation maintenance to a local engineering company or some contractor, and then they deploy our solution. Therefore, there is no specific like any negative signal so far, but the general uncertainty is definitely not good for business.
Got it, got it. So, which just a continuation of that question. So, that's what since you'd essentially, okay, not directly work with the government, but they are the, I would say, the main clients that you work with. So, do you see any form of limitations, especially when you're working in a country like India? Uh, I mean, I'm not asking you to go in depth of what the problems are, but don't you see it as a challenge? Because in this sector, there is a lot of, I would say, back and forth or the kind of coordinations that you do with them. Have you faced any of that here?
So this has been my biggest learning as a founder, right? Prior to RoadVision, I was building another company called Indica, where we were primarily B2B, right? So we were working on the data centric AI, and we would work with AI teams at Fractal, at various clients, right, who are building AI. So ProThrill, Fractal, all of them. Therefore, I also came from that background of working primarily with the corporate sector or private sector. And therefore, when I was venturing into it and I wanted to build this, the first hesitation I had is maybe dealing with government is going to be difficult, right? The general perception as we have as a citizen, right? But when I really started doing it, I was fully surprised that how the government has changed, right? Uh, Thanks to the young IAS officer who are now say maybe serving as say maybe the municipal commissioner or the district magistrate or even the senior IAS officers who are head of departments or secretary, right? They're very proactive. They understand technology. They have the appetite. Of course, the system is designed in a way that it is going to take a longer cycle as compared to selling my solution to a private company because there are formal process, tendering, a lot of those like process in place. But they do embrace technology, they understand it, and they appreciate it. And therefore, investing that longer time on the sales cycle is still worth it, right? So even if it takes 6 months for me to basically finally close them after the tendering process, but they have been basically positive about this, right? So that's a lot of positive change, and I would say for anybody to sell AI, government is the biggest client today in India, right? And we should not hesitate that they are very open and they're very adaptive on the new technology today.
Okay, that's good to hear, Hardik. And in terms of your investors right now, how are you running it? Is it bootstrapped? You're looking for investors?
So largely, I've been investing my own capital from my previous exit, right? So to that extent, but having said that, we have taken basically very small checks. One from IT Hyderabad incubation cell, and second from like friends and family, right? A few well wishers from my previous company. And then we have been making decent revenues, so we have been able to manage so far. But now that the numbers are good, right? We are about to. We do have contacts in hand of around 25 CR rupees. So we are planning. We are planning to skip our seed and probably directly prepare for a Series A in maybe a quarter from now, right? Maybe second quarter of next financial year.
Okay. That's good. I mean, good luck with that. Uh, just uh, just one last question on, not the last, second last, I would say. So I was reading about that you had an MOU with BMS College of Engineering in Bangalore. And I'm quite happy to hear that because I did my civil engineering from there.
Okay.
And it was quite nice to read about that. So my question is now when you, just help me understand. So it is basically you have a COE there in the college, and if I'm right, even the students can participate and help with the whole research process. Can you just help me understand, like what do you mean by an MOU with a college like BMS?
Correct. So it's a two-way partnership in a way that we have with them, right? So a lot of the work that we do requires fresh research, right? For example, estimating, say, a depth of a pothole from a 2D video, as you asked, is not a proven technology which is out there, right? And therefore, we do need basically fresh academic talent who would be passionate about this problem statement, right? So Professor Jaya, who is the head of civil department there. Through her, we have been basically collaborating with a lot of students to work on these innovative problem statements, and we continue to do that. Right? It's been, I believe, roughly now a year in our partnership with them, and so we employ basically them on. We jointly work on collaboration project on research as well as we do offer internships to a few students, right, who basically come through that channel. So that is one way. Second, being an academic institution, they also come across a lot of opportunities, right, for whenever there is a new corridor planning happening and all, where they need technology on the other side, right? So we come there as a technology partner, and therefore there is the other leg of partnerships as well, right? But a lot of good talent, I would say, at that college, fresh perspective, a lot of passion for civil engineering as a domain, and therefore we have been very happy with the way the partnership is going on.
So would the students have to have a lot of knowledge of these, say, agentic AI or nuanced AI tools to, say, participate in these things?
No, not really. What we are primarily seeking from them is the expertise in civil side, right? We do have a technology
Okay.
team at our side to guide them on how we have to approach these problem statements, but they should be aware of their own domain, right? That is the primary expectation.
Got it. I mean, also just out of curiosity, it's not just data annotation or things like that where these students are involved,
Not,
right?
not at all. Yeah.
Not at all. Okay. Okay, Adi. Just coming to the end of this interview, I just want to understand. So, what is your vision with Road Vision AI for this year and say 5 years from now?
So, speaking as of today, right? The thing is, there is a lot that is to be done in this sector, right? Infrastructure overall and roads and highways specifically. Uh, there is a lot of adoption of technology yet to happen, right? So, if at all somebody has to prepare a technology adoption curve or AI adoption curve across different industry, I'm sure infrastructure would be far behind as compared to maybe banking, legal, or other sectors, right? So there is a big market which is available out there. And the good thing is when we work in this sector, you tend to contribute. Of course, you make money, right? And that is why we exist. But you tend to make a lot more positive impact, right? So if through our AI-based road safety audit, we are able to help the government or the concerned contractors work on a certain road, right, and fix the safety problems, and if it saves accidents, there is no bigger achievement, right? Therefore, our vision is very simple: keep building new solutions, new interventions, which can make our network better, right? And at some day, hopefully, we as citizens would be proud of the roads that we have, right? The way we travel to, say, maybe Singapore, Middle East, and we say that, okay, wow, such a good roads are there. I'm sure very soon there is that sort of infrastructure now getting built, and that would require basically continuous maintenance, right, and upkeep to preserve the way it have been built, right? So we want to continue building that technology stack uh, even today. uh, Long term, we might want to expand from roads to other infrastructure assets as well, right? Because the core technology that we are building would also be relevant from, say, we continue to receive a lot of inbound from, say, airport companies, right? That, okay, can we also do runway monitoring through the same technology? So there are those opportunities where we would like to expand to. But for now, we want to keep ourselves focused at least for next 12 to 18 month cycle on purely on roads.
Got it. And in this journey or in this focus that you're talking about, what would be your biggest challenges or limitations in getting to where you want to be?
The biggest uh, challenge would be just to continue to be in the game, right? Don't lose hope, because, as I said, sometimes cycles are extremely long, right? And we as entrepreneur need continuous kick, right? Something new happening, some new customer onboarded, some new deployment going live, right? All of those things. While profitability, revenue is one part, and that is largely sorted, right? Uh, just being excited about what we are building is the only thing, I believe, right? If and given that in our case the why statement is very clear, we do get the continuous reminder of why we are building this, and we continue to serve that. Apart from that, I believe everything is positive so far.
Correct. And from the competitor landscape, do you have more players in working in the same domain that you're working in?
Yes, there are a couple of companies, a couple of startups, I would say, which are there. And now that the sector is just at the start of AI adoption, there are new players which are entering, right? Some of legacy contractors or surveyor who were doing survey through other technology would also now want to build similar stack, right? Whether in partnership with companies like us or maybe trying something on their own. But the sector is booming. We just have to keep an eye on it.
Correct, Adik. But say when your client is looking out for partners like you said, now many are adopting AI, so a lot of players are coming. But wouldn't they want to say tie up with already established players who are say branching out into this sector versus someone who's new and who's just starting with this sector?
Both things. So there are both types of players, right? Generally in India, a lot of people would want that, okay, I already trust this vendor, let me work with them, right? But the question is, do they have that solution, right? So AI accuracy is one thing, and doing that at a scale where you can process maybe like, say, 10,000 kilometers of data just in 2 days at the desired level of accuracy is separate thing, right? It requires a different level of tech skill set altogether. Not many players today can deliver that, right? It might change in the future, right? I don't want to sound arrogant around it, But even at least today, there are not many players who can deliver that, and therefore there is an equal opportunity for us also, right? We are not at a position of disadvantage in any ways, I would say.
Got it. Got it. All right, Hardik. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a very good interview. We learned quite a bit from you. And I like to wish you all the best with your future endeavors. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
the
so
time,
much,
man.
and it was really nice talking to you as well.